around the Enterprise A or the Enterprise refit for like 10 minutes? Because I love that.
Oh yeah, no, we'll actually extend the Enterprise refit flyby by the amount of time we save, reverting the wormhole sequence to normal speed.
Excellent.
Another 3 minutes.
And then we'll slow it down by 0.85. 5.85 or 2.85. Just make it a little slower with like just circle the pylons like you're in awe of them. What do we do now? Keep
Star
circling.
Trek. The extra motionless picture.
Keep circling.
Keep circling.
Ah.
Red alert.
My audio's in good shape today.
Recording in progress.
Well, yours always is.
Jay, do that again.
I said yours always is.
Oh, thanks. Renzo?
Testing 1, 2,
Yeah,
3.
you're good.
I like these sound checks. Like 1 minute. All right, you're good. Shut up.
I mean, what more do you really need?
Yeah, that's a good point.
All I need y'all to do is hit the red like a red shirt. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Beyond Trek Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Dag. In the room with me today, I've got Big J and Renzo. I am not even pointing to Renzo. I'm pointing to the Cerritos, getting the shit kicked out of it, because it is time for Star Trek Lower Decks Season 3, Episode 8, only 2 left in the season, Crisis Point 2, Paradoxus. And before Renzo gives us his stunning recap, I just want to give everybody the big spoiler alert. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert.
You can't miss that spoiler alert.
I mean, we don't want to spoil people. It would make them mad. So the episode begins abruptly with a tense battle between a Cerritos and a Romulan warbird. Looks like a Valdor. Phasers firing as the captain demands evasive maneuvers. The Cerritos is getting shelled, and they are eventually boarded. And when Ransom, Shax, and Kayshawn go to confront them, the Romulans beam out of engineering, just having stolen a bright, purple, glowing object that is referred to simply as the device. On the warbird, we see the Romulans beam onto the ship to inform their trio of commanders of their success, and the three women then order the destruction of the Federation ship. Before the captain can tell her crew to abandon ship, the USS Wayfarer drops out of warp to block the disruptor fire, and we are introduced to Captain Boimler, that is, in this case, Captain Bucephalus Dagger. Commander Doodle, or Mariner, orders that the crew target the Romulan disruptors, and while one of the commanders wants to stay and fight, the other reminds them that they've already won by stealing the device. Boimler lets them run, not knowing that they have what they have already stolen. But Captain Freeman quickly informs them of the nature of the device and how much of a danger one is to the Federation. The chronogami, or time-bending device, is one that can change points in history. Before Freeman can finish, Boimler is called into Ransom's office and freezes the program while Mariner explains her issues with his plot. Annoyed that he is naming his holodeck movie Crisis Point 2 and piggybacking off of her original, she tells Boimler that it had better live up to her expectations, though Boimler just skips to the opening credits and tells her that she'll eat her words as he leaves to go speak with Ransom. We learn from the opening credits that Rutherford will be Silvo Toussaint, chief engineer, as he experiments with a Cajun accent, and Tendi will be Lieutenant Commander Mina Vesper. Boimler returns from his meeting clearly upset, and lies and says that the meeting was just about reassigning duty shifts. The team then goes to the Federation lab where the chronogami was created, and a blonde scientist, in a setting very reminiscent of Regula 1, approaches and makes advances upon Boimler himself. Apparently they had a weekend on Risa, but he denies her advances, annoyedly asking her to simply explain the device and what it can do. The device, as recapped, can travel through time to the past or to the future and destroy any point in time, and effectively wipe the Federation from existence. This seems to bother Boimler far more than the rest of the crew, and he remarks on how easily life could be snuffed out. Mariner makes fun of his emotions, not knowing why he's acting so strangely. The scientist then gives Boimler a chronogami watch, which can apparently track the chronogami and leads them right to the Romulans, which Mariner openly dislikes. They discover that the Romulans are headed to Tashior 9, which would apparently give them the opportunity to find a mineral to run the device and destroy the Federation. Boimler then completely avoids the romantic subplot, leaving the scientist without anything to do. Mariner thinks this is weird, but just keeps poking at Boimler as he absent-mindedly sets a course for that planet. As they land on the planet in hooded cloaks to disguise themselves, Boimler seems uninterested while Mariner is excited for the chase that will eventually follow. Boimler listens to a side character who asks him if he needs answers in life. Mariner is angry and tries to get him back on the main mission. While the other characters find the Romulans and chase them on gravcycles, Boimler tells Mariner that he needs to find Kitiha, the legendary moon that will answer all his questions about life. After all, this is an adaptive program. Boimler then hands over command of the mission to Tendi's character, and Mariner is visibly irritated while Boimler listens to the alien of the week, Knick-Knack. Elsewhere during the chase, Tendi and Cerrito's crew disable the Romulan ship, but not before they can activate the chronogami and leave their timeline. Tendi leads the charge into the origamic threshold for Starfleet, and thus the paths diverge. They land in 2341 during the Sulian algae crisis, and Freeman explains how an ambassador named Koro learned to communicate with an algeic slime mold. Tendi assumes that the Romulans are out to kill Koro and orders the team to find them right as Rutherford returns to the story with food. Clearly annoyed that he isn't taking the mission seriously, she orders the team to spread out while Rutherford finishes his sandwich. Mariner continues to convince Boimler to turn around and just follow the storyline, but he won't do it. And eventually the alien reveals his back tattoo of the map to Kitiha. Mariner blows up at this point, saying he cannot possibly be part of the Vindictiverse. It's just too literal, and that they should stick to the main story. But Boimler fights her directly and claims his story is better than her stupid movie. Mariner storms out, claiming that his movie is terrible, and heads to her evaluation with Ransom. In his office, Ransom does ask Mariner how Boimler is doing, but Mariner is confused. So he explains that his transporter clone died that morning, and Mariner feels terrible, finally understanding why he's been acting so strangely. Meanwhile, Tendi's team goes through another time fold into the 20th century on Earth. While the Federation doesn't exist yet, they realize that the place that they've landed is right outside an aquarium that holds Koro's, the Octopus Ambassador's ancient ancestor, and that the Romulans intend to wipe out his family. They are held up by some punks wanting to rob them, but Shax and the gang defeat them, and they head into the aquarium. Rutherford annoys Tendi by stealing the punks' clothes to try and blend in and to have some fun. When Mariner joins the Holo program again, she's on a space freighter, and the two of the Faith acolytes of Katiha capture her, throwing her in the brig with Boimler. Apparently, the tattoo map was a bust, and once he couldn't find the moon, the followers lost faith in him and threw him in jail. Boimler is clearly angry with himself, and Mariner asks why he didn't tell her about William's death. Boimler explains that he was hoping to make this movie matter, because then he would matter. And if he wouldn't live his life for no reason the same way his clone died for no reason. Mariner tells him that she found meaning in an unscripted movie, and while his clearly is not as good as hers, it's Starfleet movie, so they're going to finish the plot and help him with finding some meaning whether he likes it or not. As they're trying to figure out a way out of the brig, Knick-Knack busts out and proclaims his love for Boimler, and we get a romantic subplot again. They go to the bridge, and Boimler starts a speech about finding deeper meaning, but ends up doing the Kirk thing and beating the shit out of the aliens, especially the guy with the skid map. And Knick-Knack also assists here as he becomes a large multi-legged fighting machine. Boimler then realizes that the skin map to Kitiha is correct if he joins the right skin folds together and makes everything line up. Weird, gross, but okay, let's go with it. Back with Tendi's crew, we find them at the founding of the Federation, and Rutherford is trying to deactivate a bomb set by the Romulans to destroy them. Rutherford is singing a song that's stuck in his head, and Tendi is furious that he isn't taking this more seriously. A Romulan that they thought they had killed finds the disruptor firing at Tendi and Rutherford, but instead hits Ta'ana, who saves them both. She jumps in front dramatically. As she vaporizes, Rutherford makes a joke and Tendi starts crying and blows up at him. He points out that it's a movie and they're just supposed to be having fun, but Tendi reveals that she does want to be a captain someday, and she's taking this seriously because of that. Rutherford tells her she'd be a great captain someday, and that she doesn't need a movie to prove it. She goes back in time with her crew to the original fight between Romulans and the Cerritos. The Romulans steal the chronogami again, but unbeknownst to them, Tendi, as Captain Vesper, explains that they've replaced the chronogami with the Romulans' own bomb from the previous incursion, blowing up the ship and saving the day. Mariner and Boimler finally arrive at Katiha, and the mountain opens with a purple glow and asks what answers Boimler seeks. Unfortunately, Katiha can only spout inspirational quotes as it's a hologram and not the actual Almighty. Boimler is furious and goes absolutely crazy, going into the mountain, tearing into the rock itself, and discovering a plaque that reveals that Kitiha stood for Kitty Hawk. And he goes into a rage and suddenly wakes up on a beautiful farm, wandering into the stables where he greets who he thinks is going to be Kirk, but is actually Captain Sulu. Boimler asks if this is heaven, but Sulu just tells him to feed the horse. Sulu explains that if he spends all his life worrying about a meaningless death, he won't see the small joys in life. Finally, while Boimler begins asking rapid-fire questions, Sue tells him the horse is about to bite him. And then it does. And then he wakes up with a hyper spray in his neck in sickbay, apparently having passed out from dehydration. Before the crew can reminisce, Ta'ana shoos them away from the sickbay so she can help Stevens after he leaned against the warp core for the second time that day. Right after that, Boimler mentions how much he hates cliffhangers, and we shift to a ship in a redacted system. It's a Defiant class, and on it, William is awoken by a hypo spray. He's given a Section 31 badge, and he officially joins the organization. And there's our episode.
Now, tell me again, which Boimler is the original? The one that was on the Titan or the one that's on the Cerritos?
It's debated, but we argued that it's the one that's on the Cerritos is the original.
Okay. All right. Makes a little more sense to me.
Just unlike last week's episode, this week's episode had a reference in every scene. Almost every line was some kind of a hint, getaway. My favorite reference of all, I found it to be quite subtle, but an absolute hilarious expansion of the Star Trek trope is, instead of getting the Romulan twins with the boob window, we got the Klingon twins with the boob window. We have the Romulan triplets with the boob window.
I thought they were pretty funny the way that they finished each other's sentences. We didn't really see that with the Duras as much, but the Melpinar triplets definitely like would start a sentence and the other one would finish it, kind of thing, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yep.
Sorry, Dak.
No, just you off. I took your turn, sir. Please go ahead.
I find it very interesting to play out a hollow novel. Well, not really a hollow novel, but a hollow movie. I think I like seeing those. I mean, just imagine writing and acting in your own movie, your own holodeck movie. So, yeah, I mean, there are so many things you can do with that.
What I like
love
most
to have
about
holodeck.
That idea, though, is that when we look at like a lot of the live action shows, they're replaying classic books, classic TV shows in the case of Tom Paris, right? But they're very rarely doing like original content that they have created. There's much less of that. Like the Doctor writes his own stories, but most of the characters are just like, oh, here's this Jane Eyre or type books, right? Or let's go through Murder on the Orient Express kind of thing, right? Or something. Here they've got their own story that they have created and they are going to act through, which I think is much more cool.
It's a lot better than just rehashing or redoing something that is old. You know, I would like to do a holodeck version of Clue. That would be a lot of fun to be in. You guys know Clue, right?
Yeah.
Did you see Boimler's Easter egg? Because I'm assuming it's a Boimler's Easter egg and not an actual gaffe in the show.
No, I don't think so.
On the Wayfarer. The Wayfarer is what class?
It's a Sovereign.
It's a Sovereign class, right. What's its Master Systems display say it is?
Oh, it says that it's a Titan. Yeah, I saw that too.
So I was just like, my brain was like, oh, they made a mistake. And then I'm like, no. Boimler put an Easter egg in his own movie.
We've seen other movies where like the MSD in the back of the like bridge shows the wrong ship. It happens not uncommon.
True, but in this case, like,
I agree, it's an Easter egg.
The meta deepness there that like the writers wrote, that Boimler wrote an Easter egg into his own movie. I liked that a lot. That was very happy making for me.
Yeah, no, that tracks for me too. That was a good one. I actually think that the names that he came up with his characters, though, is the most ridiculous part. Bucephalus Dagger, Commander Doodle. Come on.
That was kind of ridiculous.
Okay, so did anybody look up Bucephalus Dagger?
No.
Okay, so Bucephalus was the name of Alexander the Great's horse.
Horse, yeah.
And a lot of people are saying, no, okay, so one guy on Reddit with a whole bunch of likes is like, did Boimler just name his captain Captain Horsecock?
No. Yeah.
Bucephalus, okay. Dagger and Chalice. Chalice and Blade.
Yes.
I was just like, wow, Captain Horsecock. And then the rest of the comments are, that would explain why all those girls are fawning over him at the vineyard.
And he's just throwing shade at all
It's
of the women that are
dang.
trying to flirt with him.
Wow, like just on the nose. The motion picture text and font of Crisis Point 2 Paradoxus, the fusion of this Paradoxus with Star Trek's 2, 4, 5, and I don't know, maybe some 8, 10, and some Enterprise, and some of the gap of things that happened in the 2340s that no one knows about.
Oh, the Lost Era.
Because we had Star Trek 1 motion picture with the font, and then the surprise twist at the end that an ancient Earth machine was the source of, the road.
That part wasn't part of the story that he wrote, though. That's just what the computer made up as it went, though.
Sure, but it for Boimler, sure, but from a our level perspective, that's a writer's nod to Star Trek 1 in a joking kind of way. Star Trek 2, we get the Genesis lab, like you said, with the different Carol Marcus-ish character, the same level of graphics that we might have gotten from the Genesis experiment. Star Trek 4, a punk with a boombox in the 1980s, Sydney, Australia. And Star Trek 10, not my own personal, but just the only reference I could get to Star Trek 10 was the micro-thaleron device that they used.
I mean, it also has a Valdor, which we only ever saw in Nemesis.
That is true as well. Yes.
Is it just me, or did those punk guys reminded me of the ones that were in Terminator?
The shoulder vest definitely was Bill Paxton's character. Spiky blue hair. Right. When I saw it, that was the first thing I thought of.
So I've got another one for you, Dag, though.
You've got another guy with like the pink hair, so very much pink mohawk-ish. Tell me, I'm waiting.
So in Star Trek 5, under the original ideas that Shatner had come up with, the giant rock monster he's supposed to battle before he gets to God, that's the design that they used for the Kit-Hee-Ha, like purple rock thing with the open hand that you stand in and everything.
Yeah, that whole concept of zealots taking over the ship and breaking out of prison and flying to God.
Generations, because of the farm. Like, they took a lot of movie content for this.
Yeah, that's very true. And I like that Sulu recognizes, like, oh no, he's probably just up on some time travel shenanigans. Because Kirk left and disappeared from, 93 to 71. Is that how long he was gone? Was it 22? I think so. It's fine.
About 2370.
It was 78 years.
Close. Yeah. So, speaking of Final Frontier, just want to throw out this little tiny factoid. Do you guys know the behind-the-scenes reason as to the debacle that it was of William Shatner directing a Star Trek movie?
The behind-the-scenes reason that was the debacle. I'm seething. Tell me.
So, the way that the contracts were written by the agents, by Shatner's agent, is basically anything that Leonard Nimoy got to do, he gets as well. So the reason that we had Star Trek 5 and directed by William Shatner is because Leonard Nimoy got to direct the movie. So really it was just a matter of, well, he gets to do it, so I get to do it as well, because that's in the contract. And really, essentially, that was why. That was like the reason why.
And I don't think anybody's going to argue that 4 is a better movie than 5. So
absolutely,
you can really tell that.
Yeah, there was a guy on the bridge of the Wayfarer that had like unkempt hair and a 5 o'clock shadow, and I keep feeling like that was the helm officer on the Defiant in Star Trek 8, played by Adam Scott.
I have to go back.
I didn't catch that
and look at that, but
I'm just trying to make connections to the rest of the Star Trek films, like when they stretched that dude's skin to put the words together. I was like, oh, insurrection. Okay.
Yeah. Very Sona.
That's right. Yeah.
So maybe we did get references to all of the films.
Well,
He is rather unkempt and has a little bit of a beard. That's weird.
the only reference I don't think I saw was made was Undiscovered Country. Didn't see or don't recall anything out of that one. Seems to be the only one that didn't.
The Lost Era uniforms, maybe that's just an overlap, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So the Lost Era uniforms, interestingly, Boimler made another mistake. These ones have collars, and they didn't have collars in the 2340s.
Correct.
But a Star Trek IV reference, they have to go to an aquarium to save the future.
Yeah. Save the humpback whales.
Save the Ambassador
Octopus,
Koros. Yeah. Apparently octopi are intelligent in the future.
So I have 2 attention to detail things that I thought were really, really cool in this episode.
Okay.
Just the same way they did in Crisis Point, the first one. The scenes on the holodeck are letterboxed, which is phenomenal. Yep, love that. And then when they leave the holodeck, they have to step out of the letterboxing, and outside in the hallway, it's normal again.
Yep.
Really cool detail when Mariner leaves, though we also see Boimler do it too when he's going off to meet with Ransom as well. So excellent attention to detail there. And the other one that I wanted to point out with is when they're in the holodeck, there are sometimes some artifacts inside of the film. So there's like film grain and like little burn marks at the top of the thing too. It gets a lot worse when they're using the chronogami, because if you look at the way they had to do old special effects for these things, they had to layer film on top of each other, which magnifies how many of those artifacts happen. So whenever the chronogami is going on, you see tons more of those little artifacts, those cigarette burns and everything else. It's really cool detail.
Holy shit, I completely missed that. How did I miss that?
Yeah, I'm seeing a bit of that. That's like a testament to old school special effects editing. That's really clever and smart of them.
Yeah, clearly they did it digitally, right? But I mean, it's very good catch on their part.
Yeah.
Was it me, or did the Sovereign class ship look a lot more high res and high detail than any of the other ships that we've seen? Maybe it's just me. It seemed like it came off as
It looked great. It just had a bit of a
super
purple
shiny
glow to me.
kind of thing. Yeah.
But yeah, it
maybe
looked
so.
great. It looked the same level of quality as the Parliament class, the USS Vancouver from 2 seasons ago.
Well, should we talk about the whole Section 31 thing that we're getting with the other Boimler?
Right after he says he doesn't like cliffhangers, we get a cliffhanger.
I mean, William makes a really good point about, like, if this is supposed to be a secret organization, why are we just advertising that we're members by putting on this black badge? It's a very good point that people have wondered about since Discovery, but I guess, like, they have a reason? Maybe they track their agents with them or something?
But it's kind of... I don't know. Maybe if you don't go out in public ever, or if you do, you don't wear your badge, because that seems to scream, I am in some kind of different secret organization.
No, I straight up agree with you. It's very odd, but they pointed it out, and then they did it anyways, so they've got to have some reason for it, or some excuse for it for us.
Well, maybe Mike McMahon is the guy with the hypos, and he's like, stop fucking with the narrative, Boimler. It was nice to see a Defiant on screen again.
Oh God, yes.
Such a pretty ship.
I'm hoping we get more of that. It wasn't just a quick scene of it.
It's real interesting. Several years ago, before y'all know I was a part of Trek RP, before Trek RP, there was a Star Trek online role-playing group, and I had been assigned to the USS Red Guard, which was a Section 31 Defiant class starship. And I was just like, when I saw this, I was like, "Aw, somebody's been mining our resources." Why write your own show when you can just mine years of RP that's publicly accessible?
Hey, Dag, did you catch the name of the planet that they had to go to?
Tatashi 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is
Did you get the reference?
Definitely a reference to Fred Tatashier, our favorite Shaxx voice actor, who has done plenty of other Star Trek voices in his career.
Now, that reference I definitely got.
Yeah.
Definitely caught that one.
It's just such a unique name.
Oh, and then
Chakashior?
there was another one, Shatnery.
Yeah.
Shakari.
Yeah, absolutely, just way on the nose.
They were trying to get Sean Connery for that part.
Third mood of Chatanari.
I think Sean Connery would have made a great Cybok.
Yeah, but
well, he was too busy filming Last Crusade.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Can't blame him for that choice.
It's okay. I appreciate Lawrence Lucanville's performance. I think there's a lot more passion in his voice. I think at the time Connery might have approached that less contemplative and more action hero. So
we're going to the center of the galaxy.
I'm going to defeat a god. You just sit down and wait, son. What's your name? What's my name? I mean, I know what God needs with a name, but it's Bond. James Bond. Oh no.
Wrong franchise, Sean.
Bond has lost his name again.
Oh, what's the worst that could happen? We end up with a monologue with Kirk arguing against, like, Cybok in that case? That sounds awesome to me.
I'm all for it. It would have been a different universe without Sean Connery in Last Crusade, even though he was only 12 years older than Harrison Ford.
Oh.
Yeah.
Harrison Ford, who, by the way, just today confirmed that he has been cast to succeed the role of General Ross, Thunderbolt Ross, in Captain America, The New World Order for the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
What happened to William Hurt?
William Hurt passed away earlier this year.
Oh my God. Oh. You're right. That's right.
Yeah.
Totally blanked on that one. Okay. Take some Harrison Ford. I don't know how we got into the Marvel Universe stuff, but that's what we do here on this podcast.
Beyond Marvel podcast.
Disney.
Let's circle back around to that.
All right, so Dag, I got another one for you.
Okay, ask.
When the Holo program, when the crew travels back to July 15th, 1982, why is that date important?
July 15th, 1982 is the premiere of Star Trek The Wrath of Khan.
Yeah. Oh, that was an easy one.
Honestly, it didn't.
I didn't think that was that easy.
It didn't hit me until you asked it, and then I was like, "Oh, yeah, duh." July 15th, 1982. I was all of 3 months and 2 weeks old.
Wow.
Jay's like, I was 5, because he was.
I was -5.
You're right. I was 4 going on 5 when that movie premiered. Didn't see it until it was on HBO, and first time I saw it, I would watch it every time it was on HBO. So that was the start of me becoming a Star Trek fan. Was Wrath of Khan. So then I had to go back and watch motion picture, and then the rest is history. All Star Trek after that.
So I want to comment on the little space battle that we got at the beginning of the episode. So the ship that the Melpinar triplets have is not exactly a Valdor. It's got some modifications. It's got a fin on the back. It's got some little antenna-y things above the bridge section, which look pretty cool. I can't wait till they add them in the Star Trek Online. I'm here for it. But the battle itself was pretty sick, and I expect that the Cerritos would get its ass kicked by a Valdor. It makes sense.
Yeah.
The Valdor is a frontline combat ship, and the Cerritos is a second contact cruiser. It's not fair fight. Having the Wayfarer show up, though I don't like the name for a ship, makes perfect sense to me that it would kick the Valdor's ass and send it running.
Well, yeah, it's a sovereign class. You don't mess with those.
No.
It's a pretty sovereign class, too.
Yeah, it looked great. Like I said, though, it had a weird purple glow, that scene.
The Sovereign?
Yeah, if you look at the screen caps for it, right? The Cerritos doesn't have that same glow, but the Wayfarer definitely has a solid purple glow.
I think that's just an aesthetic choice for the special effects of Paradoxus.
Maybe. I don't complain about it. I actually think that it would make more sense if, like, more ships followed, like the Cerritos does and has, like, a color line on it. Something along those lines. I think that that's cool. It's just strange to me that if it was like a sun or something that's putting off purple light, that we would only see it on the one ship, not the others.
You point out something very interesting, and it touches on a point that you made earlier. how when they used the chronogami, they had that layer of film grain to sort of call back to like the way special effects were done. Well, remember, for Star Trek, they had to do multiple passes for the starships, and maybe one of the people doing the passes had this purple light on, and the other ships didn't have that. In Boimler's meta world, the Wayfarer gets away with a purple glow.
Yeah, no, that perfectly works. What'd you think of Tendi's line about like creating an alternate timeline where we're all younger versions of ourselves played by different people?
I laughed.
I thought it was great.
I laughed.
But I think I'm missing that one. Can someone explain it?
The J.J. Abrams
Kelvin?
movies. They were another timeline played by younger versions of ourselves that look nothing like us.
Okay. So just like
they're just lampshading the Kelvin
movies.
universe movies.
For sure.
Gotcha. Okay.
And we learn more about them in Discovery, which I'm glad Discovery tied up a little bit of that. Like, bring the universe home for a little bit.
All right, well, who would play you guys in the younger version, alternate universe?
Younger version of me in an alternate universe. Zac Efron with a beard.
Who? Oh, Zac Efron with the beard.
I don't know. I'm not great on actor names, particularly young ones. I just don't know.
I mean, I'd say Ted from How I Met Your Mother, except he's like 15 years older than you, so never mind.
I've gotten that. You look like such and such a few times, so.
I get the guy from Tropic Thunder, the special effects guy from Tropic Thunder.
I also get the guy from It's Always Sunny, and I've never seen the show, so I don't actually know, but I've been told I look a lot like one of the two dudes from It's Always Sunny.
Danny DeVito. I can totally see it.
Thanks.
I do apologize. I hope that was not too...
No, you're good.
Okay.
But no, I still think that the whole like optical printer like layering effect that they did there is still so cool. Every time I come across it in the screenshots, I'm like, that's just badass. The look of the chronogami is perfect for it.
Yeah.
Chronogami, a play on origami?
Exactly.
Yes, they say as much.
Yeah, because it folds
You're
time.
folding time.
Ooh. I'm really excited about this 2341 Great Algae Crisis. Like, wow, okay, something was happening on Earth, and I mean, it totally makes sense that like you can't just Starfleet Aquatic Research Center 2341, the Great Sulian Algae Crisis. Maybe it's not on Earth. Maybe this algae center is on another planet. And
to be fair, I don't even know if it's a real thing, right? It might have been like just something that Boimler made up for his story.
It could be, but Boimler really does draw a lot on the history here. So I'm gonna say it's canon until it's not canon, and other people can say it's not canon until it's canon. But I need a book about the Great Algae Crisis, and I need to be told with the utmost sincerity and no humor, just to contrast against this episode.
Well, there's so much of the, like we said before, that Lost era, starting with, let's see, Generations, which was, I believe, took place in, I saw it as 2293, which is about a year after Undiscovered Country. But between that and 2364, when Picard took command of the Enterprise D, there's not a whole lot in there. We've had a couple things in there, especially the last days of the Stargazer, the Romulan guy, what's that?
The Kittimer, the Master of Kittimer.
The Kittimer attack, losing the Enterprise C at Narendra 3.
The Tomed incident, which we know we've had referenced a few times. The signing of the Tree of Algeron.
Also 2311.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, one of the things that I like about the Sulian Algae Crisis is that it shows us that, like, Earth is always in danger. There was no just moment of like, hey, we've got Star Trek the original series with Kirk, and then suddenly Kirk disappears and Earth has a period of peace unbeknownst to it for hundreds of years until Jean-Luc Picard takes control and suddenly we have parasites infecting us by the end of the year. What gives? We're canceling the name Enterprise. No more Enterprises. Earth is going to be okay.
Yeah, we've got Borg, parasites, all kinds of things.
I mean,
the name Enterprise should be
worse
retired.
yet. We have Q.
Then Q, yeah. No
Enterprise. So let's see. The last time bad things happened on Earth when there was no Enterprise was the Breen attack. And then there were no more bad things that happened to Earth after the Breen attack. Chronologically, Enterprise was 200 years prior. Oh, I thought you were talking about the show. I thought you were talking about the show.
No.
All right. Well, between movies, Earth experiences peace. There's got like have you ever read Red Shirts by John Scalzi? It's a book that does like meta humor about how the extras on Star Trek have to be smart enough to figure out that they're on a show, because you can just sit there and look and be like, Captain, are you okay? Why is he just staring into the distance? And then you realize, oh, it's a climax going to commercial and the music is rising, so he's just staring boldly. And it just gets really meta into that. And I'm thinking, there's got to be some statistician at Daystrom who's about to get locked up because he's like, wait, when the Enterprise does these things, shit hits the fan. But whenever the Enterprise isn't on a diligent mission, everything is okay. So just don't send the Enterprise anywhere.
So
Voyager disappeared for 7 years. Earth was fine.
Why wouldn't Boimler name his the Sovereign class ship? Well, they probably could not get these Enterprise. Maybe not for the show, but I just wonder why that name wasn't it the Enterprise?
That's actually a really good idea. A really good question. What's important to Boimler about the concept of wayfaring?
I don't.
Is it a bold Boimler thing?
All I know is that it was, I don't know, it was a missed opportunity in universe and out.
Maybe he just wanted to have a ship that he could name, and it's not one that exists, so he just wanted to choose one. I mean, when I played Star Trek Online or something, I always name ships after some historical figure that I admire, but not necessarily one that's already existed in Trek before.
Yeah, it's sometimes I have a hard time coming up with good names for ships.
Maybe it was auto-generated.
Yeah, Wayfarer
also
auto-generated.
All right, Dag, so here's another trivia one for you, right? As of this episode, we now have 4 sentient species that have evolved on Earth that at least make it to be advanced. Can you name all 4?
Does that include human?
That is one of the 4.
Okay, so human, beluga, octopus, and dog.
No. The dog doesn't count. That was a genetic test by Tendi.
No, I was going with Porthos, but okay, hold on. Okay, so we've got humans, and we've got one species of whale, and we've got a cephalopod, and I mean, I really want to go humpback whale. No, not going with that one, even though they're totally sentient and did go to space for like 2 seconds.
Nope.
Not counting.
Not counting. We could just say whales as a category, octopi as a category, humans as a category.
Oh well,
but the 4th one does not count in any of those 3 previous ones.
That pulls us into phylum, I guess. Oh, jeez. Another sentient. Okay, I don't know.
Hadrosaurs, because of the Voth.
Oh god damn it!
Oh, as soon as you said it.
Yeah, it's one of those like, oh right, they did come from Earth. They made a point of that in the episode. Distant origin.
Wow.
How did we miss that?
Wow. So I just want to double clarify. I looked up a picture of Bill Paxton, and he absolutely has spiky blue hair in the scene where he holds a knife to Arnold Schwarzenegger. And in this movie, spiky blue hair with the cut off shoulder thing, and he's holding a knife. It's so funny that they did that.
I knew it. So not only did they pull from other Star Trek movies, but other franchises. So we got a little bit from the Terminator.
You know what would have been?
A trope.
Do you know what would have been really interesting is if they had also included Brian Thompson's character from that scene, who, one, was Arnold Schwarzenegger's stunt double in Terminator, and two, has done multiple Star Trek appearances as a Klingon in Generations and a member of the Dozai in Deep Space Nine, among others. So that would have been a cool callback.
Brian Thompson is who you get when you want Arnold Schwarzenegger, but you don't have Arnold Schwarzenegger money.
That's okay. Wish.com. Wish.com Arnie. I really like Brian Thompson. He was a Bruja businessman in an old TV show called Kindred the Embraced, based on White Wolf's Vampire the Masquerade role-playing game. That series only lasted like one season maybe and was canceled. Vampire.
Holy shit, I'd never heard of this one. When was this around?
1995? I've got the whole series on DVD. I got it for like...
even heard of this one.
I got it for like 99 cents at a clearance bin at like Target or something. I don't know. You might like it. It's a vampire-themed political thriller with some romance in it.
Sounds promising.
I guess for things to marathon, so...
I guess it had a bad execution or something. I don't know.
It's like 9 episodes or something. You know, the rock monster really got to me because I was like, man, they really tried hard to make that a thing in Star Trek V. They wasted some budget on it. They built some giant props. And at the end of the day, they're just like, we can't make this work. And you know why? Because they didn't have Kirk Thatcher on the scene. That's why. Just
Alternatively, it also inspired Galaxy Quest, one of the best Star Trek movies around. And they also had a giant rock monster.
Gridnack.
If you really dig, and maybe I think I recall seeing this. I don't think it was the Sinbad and Shazam thing, but I thought I saw some footage of the rock monsters from Star Trek V, some test footage or something like that.
You can find it on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and boy, was it. Ooh. Yeah, it was not good.
Yeah.
I mean, why? Rock monsters? I don't know. I don't know.
Another thing...
Jay, going back to our Bucephalus Dagger conversation from before,
Yep.
do you think the fact that he has a conversation with Sulu about being a sword guy is also some innuendo then?
Yes. Mirror, of course, Sulu was shown with his, I don't know what you call it in fencing.
Yeah.
Right. So that was a big thing, and also got that in the Kelvin timeline with that Sulu as well. Had
the
fencing.
Collapsible katana or whatever. That thing was cool.
Yeah,
that was cool. So yeah, I like that reference as well. It's a shame that we didn't get more Sulu and sword fighting in the original series, but this is a stupid question, totally stupid question, but I missed the credits on this one, don't know why, but that was George Takei doing the voice of Sulu. Okay, I thought there's no way they would do have an appearance of the character without him.
No way. Yeah.
Do you think they were throwing shade in that episode when he came in looking for Captain Kirk and they were like, no, Captain Sulu, and he's like, even better?
So I think that this actually closes a plot hole.
Really?
So remember in Generations when Kirk's like, oh, I thought I sold this place years ago. He sold it to Sulu. Now we know who he sold it to.
Okay, so now let's dissect that a little bit. Let's remember that Alexandra, from his perspective, was 15 years before his time frame in Generations. So we're talking 2393. This takes us back to 2378. He says he sold it years ago. So sometime between 2378 and at least like 2390, 3 years, give it a little bit of there. He sold it to somebody. I like that. I like the idea that he sold it to Sulu, if this isn't some weird fantasy dream sequence.
But the thing that I didn't quite like about that line, and it's certainly possible that the writers were just throwing in numbers, not really paying attention to it, but by that math, this was between Motion Picture and Wrath of Khan. which granted, there's about, in timeline, there's about 12 years in between the events of Motion Picture and the events of Wrath of Khan.
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely some space in there to be able to do that. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I could see
there's room for a gap where Kirk left Starfleet sometime after TMP and settled down on Earth for a little bit and then went back to Starfleet.
Well, if you go by the books, it was there was another 5-year mission after the events of the motion picture, and then Enterprise got thrown in as maybe there were 2 5-year missions. I don't recall.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely at least one, and then the Enterprise got put in as the training ship, training duty. So yeah, I'm sure there was definitely a time in there, the space where what he's talking about was in between those 2 movies.
Still, I think it kind of fits, right? Like, we kind of wondered why he would have sold something he was so like treasured to him and who he would have sold it to. Well, now we know. He sold it to his good friend, and he sold it to Sulu, and that's why it was more okay to get rid of the place rather than just keep owning it in the middle of nowhere.
This solves another loophole. Perhaps he's the last time he sold it long enough for it to be the last time he saw Demora Sulu when she was a child.
Yeah.
Sulu would have been there to take the keys. But it also brings into fact that there's money and private property exchanges in Star Trek.
So maybe metaphorical, right? We still hear things being called blueprints today, and we hear things called blueprints in Star Trek, but they haven't been blue since like the 1920s and 30s.
Are you sure about that? Because I got the blueprints to the Enterprise, and they're definitely blue.
Yeah, printing things in blue does not mean that they're actual blueprints, though. Like, look up blueprints for a modern day building. They're not actually blue anymore. The reason that they were blue is because the printers that they used specifically used a kind of ink that would paint the page in blue and then leave exceptions as the lines that were in white and then print in black on top of that. Right? That's how they worked. It's just the way it did it. But we still call them blueprints even though they're just not blue anymore.
For the love of God, Renzo, how do you know this? Why
I got
do you know
into
this?
I got into an argument about this like 5 or 6 years ago, and this is the part that stuck with me about the argument.
Gee, the stuff that it's like just
we
insane.
We
Renaissance
all
man.
have had our anal retentive hills to die on, and one of them
That's
for
true.
Renzo was blueprints.
Listen,
Blueprints. This is where I'm dying.
there are many hills. This one is mine.
We can write a book, call it 1 Prince, 2 Prince, Dead Prince, Blueprints. Okay, so speculation. Just entertain me. If the series is leaning towards the evil Section 31 that we get from Boimler's evil laugh, is there a way to tie that in with the Agamus and Peanut Hamper union?
No, please no. No.
No, just entertain me.
I'll stop watching Star Trek.
Find a way
Maybe.
to make it make sense.
Maybe. So we know that the control concept was something that Section 31 had before, right?
Mhm.
They used it to like predict outcomes and plan things out, etc., right? Maybe at this point they're like, you know what? It's been long enough that we haven't had something like control. Let's try something like that again. Maybe we can control it this time. We're smarter now. We can keep up with it. So they pick up Agamus. Agamus goes, I want Peanut Hamper too. And then Badgie tags along, and now suddenly the 3 of them have taken over Section 31.
My thinking is along the same lines. I want to just kind of add on to that like Section 31's gaffe was only having a single artificial intelligence that became a monolith. If you spread that statistical prediction power across multiple artificial intelligences, each with their own agendas, they cannot become monolithic. That's just my idea, and it feels goofy enough to be a lower decks plot.
Yeah, I'd be down.
If I see Peanut Hamper again, I swear, I will drown myself in a toilet.
Oh man, cosplay
It could be a
idea.
big toilet.
Cosplay idea. Just
I'll find a way.
dress up as Mr. Peanut and carry a laundry hamper around to a Star Trek convention.
Boo.
Peanut hamper.
I wonder
Statistically perfect.
How many people do you think would get that? Do you think that would be?
At the Star Trek conventions I'm planning on going to, 100% of them would get it.
Oh, okay.
They would literally be like, "What are you doing as a peanut with a hamper?" Oh, that would be like 90% of the conversations. The other 10% would be like,
hamper.
"I was staring at you from across the room, trying to figure out if you even knew what convention you were at, and then it dawned on me, and I just need to let you know. Great job. I'm not telling anybody." That would be the two conversations that I would have with the Mr. Peanut Hamper cosplay.
I want pictures of that if that happens.
Yeah, the Romulans, I wish I could talk more about them besides the fact that they were our Duras sister equivalent here.
They were cool.
Yeah, the tweaks. You made a good point about the tweaks to the Romulan ship. I was like, why does it look so different? But I was like, oh right, it's a movie, and Boimler is probably responsible for all those little changes.
Well,
but
remember
also,
Vindicta's ship, right? It was like a bird of prey with parts attached from like a Katinga, right? So it was like a modified ship. This is too. Like this is mostly a Valdor, but it's got a couple things that stick out here and there.
Yeah.
Why do you think it looked different for his holodeck movie?
To make it look cooler.
Yeah, I mean, Star Trek has a tendency to like attach things to hero ships in subsequent appearances when it's not like necessary for the plot.
How many times have we seen a Tamarian cruiser's model reused to some other aliens, or the Acritian race's cruiser used to something else,
like
or
11 million times?
Yeah, they just keep doing it, which is fine. I don't care.
And kit bashing, kit bashing also.
Kit bashing.
Yep. I thought maybe it was because information on Romulan ships, or even what they look like, is kind of hard to come by in the Federation. Because even though at this time of Lower Decks, that this is after the Dominion War, and the Romulans it's a fake right into the war. I'm sure as soon as it was over, the Romulans went right back to their secret stuff and isolationism, and it's probably one of those things where it was Boimler knows some stuff about the look of the ship and just filled in some gaps to make it look cool.
I wouldn't be surprised.
That would work too, right? Like, okay, so in the real world, right, if you look hard enough, you can find pictures of still brand new military vessels out of Russia. You can find them for pictures of Chinese ships. They're just not the best pictures. Like, you'll find like a satellite picture and you can be like, oh look, I get its basic idea. Maybe that's what Boimler used equivalents to make this Valdor. So he's like, well, there's a bump there. Maybe that's a fin, and so he draws in a fin when he programs it in the computer, right? I don't know. Either way, it works out just fine. Whether it's a mistake or whether it's like an intentional choice to make it look more badass, it is recognizably a Valdor. So
yes, I get it on that. Any guys got any final thoughts on this one?
I really appreciated this one for the frenetic pace the movie had. The A plot turned into the B plot because obviously we're supposed to follow Boimler. But the
B plot still had some great characters.
I liked the B plot a lot, just to get like the views of who's to do and what. You know, we don't have a scene. All of the characters here, except for Tendi, Rutherford, Mariner, and Boimler, are holographic. So even the Freeman, the Shacks, they're holographic for the purpose of this show. And I really appreciated a lot of the eye candy. The boombox that was obviously a reference to the Star Trek 4 boombox man, Punk on the Bus. The nod to frickin' Bill Paxton, and just all of the subtle hints. Not even subtle, the ones that were like right up in your face, slapping you around, going, "Look, this is Star Trek 4, just deal with it." I just really appreciated that. Not only did they throw all that stuff in, but it was part of the plot. It wasn't just like there to be there.
So my final thoughts, just want to say that I really appreciate the kinds of character development that we saw for Tendi and for Boimler in this episode. So we finally get this admission from Tendi that she is looking to move up the ranks. She does want to be a captain. She does want to lead people, and her friends are going to support her on it. But we also see this character development on Boimler's part of like understanding that, you know what, mortality is a thing, and sometimes you just need to live while you can, and that's progress for him because he's been kind of living like a nervous but carefree life. So maybe this will put him on a smarter trajectory. Mariner shows that she cares, which is nice, and Rutherford is supportive, so it's good for all the characters.
I like the way that these four spend their time together really shows the camaraderie that they have with one another. It seems like they're always spending their time together, even if it's free time. And with doing this Hollow movie, it's like what better way to spend time with your friends, with this tight group that you do everything with. And I hope we see more of that. I like the parts where we get to see them work as a group. Now, season 1 certainly had their episodes where they would have like their team ups. They would take 2 of them as an A plot, 2 of them as a B plot, kind of shuffle that around a little bit. But I like seeing the 4 of them together, and not just growing that character development, but the group development, which to me I think is just as important. So that's it. That's all I've got.
Well, I think we all agree that it was a very solid episode. So
yeah, can't wait to see what happens next. Only 2 more episodes remain of Star Trek Lower Decks, and after that, we're into the unknown. We've had almost a solid year of Star Trek since the last season of Lower Decks was on. It was followed up immediately by Star Trek Discovery, which was followed up immediately by Star Trek Picard, which was followed up immediately by Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Okay, and so anybody get any tips on when the next season of anything comes out? We know that Star Trek Discovery season 5, Star Trek Picard season 3, Prodigy.
I think we get Prodigy next.
Prodigy season 1 part 2, as I understand it. It's not season 2, season 1 part 2. We only got 10 episodes? We got 5 in, and then we got to split it, and then we got 5 more, and then so stay tuned. Keep your ears out for news on Prodigy and all the new stuff. No news yet on the 4th-ish Kelvin movie, which is constantly in the news for on-again, off-again relationships. I really would have liked...
that's in the news. It's been cut from
Paramount's
release schedule.
They took it off their release schedule. Yeah, because they were supposed to release it December of next year. There's no way that they could write a script, shoot it, edit it, special effect it, publish it, all the good stuff. It can't happen in 14 months. It's too not cool, man. Especially for, now that movies are only in theaters for like 6 weeks before they're kicked out. Remember when Jurassic Park was in theaters? It was in theaters for like 16 months. It was like a year and a half of Jurassic Park awesomeness back in 1993. Okay.
I actually remember seeing that as a kid.
You were 3.
No,
okay, you were 5.
93, I was 5 or 6, but I remember seeing that with my dad.
Okay, that works. That's cool. Well, gentlemen, thanks for being here with me this evening. Audience, thanks for spending your time with us. And we're just going to go right into it. And for always going boldly with Beyond Trek Podcast.
Hey, everybody. I just wanted to give a quick shout out to our Patreon and Anchor supporters, to S. Tam and Nora Hickson. Thank you so much for being a part of Beyond Trek Podcast.
We are Beyond Trek Podcast. Lower your inhibitions and surrender your years. We will add inspirational and hilarious Trek content to your day Your attention will adapt to subscribe to us. Resistance is futile.